Greetings and welcome. My name is Sarah Staley with SIME, and today we are here with Chip Blankert from FEMA. Chip's going to go over some information on FEMA and how you can prepare yourself better for getting hired at FEMA or one of our government organizations. So Chip, thank you so much for being here and take it away.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, and thank you for Jackie for inviting us. I also have Carl Spicer with me, who is also going to help answer some questions today. We're going to go ahead and do a recording of this for those that weren't able to make it, so thank you for facilitating that, Sarah. And what I'm going to do is just do an overview presentation of FEMA so we can give you a little bit of information about what we're looking for, and then more importantly, how to navigate through USAJobs and some of the other hiring platforms to make sure you're most qualified to get that selection, to get that interview. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to get this started. Okay, so again, my name is Chip Blank with FEMA. One of the things I want to let everybody know is FEMA has a very unique mission. We help people before and during and after disasters, and every member of FEMA has the same role in one aspect. We're all recurring emergency managers, so we can get called upon to support any type of disaster in the U.S. Just looking right before we got on here, some of my coworkers have just received word they're going to be going out to help with the pandemic. We've got people down in Puerto Rico still from the hurricanes there a couple years ago. Still have people out in California working with wildfires. Pretty much everywhere you've seen a disaster, probably in the last 5 to 10 years, we still have people working out there, because it's not just as soon as the disaster is over and the news gets off the showing FEMA being there that the disaster is over. Because a lot of what we do is not just response to the disaster, but it's reestablishing the communities after the fact and getting them back up to speed. And that's a lot of times where our civil engineers and other engineers that FEMA hires come into play within our mission. Our headquarters is based out of Washington, D.C. That's where we set the policies and control the flow of everything in the U.S. We handle all 54 states and territories in the United States. So we coordinate out of DC with all the regional offices and the field offices. We've got 10 regional offices in the country. There's one in each of these different colored regions here. These are the areas where they control and work with the states within their region to make sure that we can help them prepare for and respond to and recover from a disaster. So each of these areas are areas we're going to have people located. Now, the nice thing about our engineering positions is we have engineering positions at our headquarters in Washington, D.C. We have engineering in our engineering offices at our office in Winchester, Virginia, which is about 2 hours outside of D.C., almost at the West Virginia line. But every single region has engineering slots. So if you're looking to move when you get out of the military back to one of the regions, there's a very strong chance that we're going to have positions out there, because these are some of the most difficult positions for us to fill. That's why I wanted to partner with you guys and give you the opportunity to learn more about how to apply for positions within FEMA. Now, since you're the Society of Military Engineers, that tells me that you guys are veterans, and veterans bring a great value to the table. Even though you're an engineer in the military, there's so many different roles that you can adapt to. And what we've learned being in the military, I spent 22 years in the military, very familiar with the team environment. We're all mission focused. We also do things beyond just be what our primary MOS was. We do other jobs, so we have that other experience. And that's vital to FEMA, because no matter where we go, we might have to modify what we're doing based on what's going on in that part of the world. It's also a fantastic fit. It's very easy for you to transfer over. Your service can carry right over, so you can start off at higher time off, higher pay scales, everything else. So it gives you some great opportunity. And the big skills that we have that carry over regardless of the role in FEMA are the operations, the planning, logistics, personnel management, leadership. All those skills just transfer right over. So it is such a great fit, because we're used to dealing with these type of environments just from being in the military. What I wanted to talk about was the different type of jobs, because most people only know about our permanent full-time jobs, the competitive service, the ones you think of on USAJobs, those GS jobs, general service. They're filled based on availability. Once a job gets posted on USAJobs, it has to be filled through that vacancy announcement. So I'll show you some easier ways to do that. But then one of the things a couple of roles FEMA have that are unique to FEMA is our cadre on-call response and recovery, our core employees. These people are hired to work a specified period of time, whether it be 2 years or 4 years. You'll see later the engineering positions are usually 4 years, and there's a plus to that, which I'll go into. But core positions are paid on the same pay scale and the same benefits, the same everything as a permanent full-time employee. So if it's a core or an IC-12 or an IC-13, that's the same for pay and benefits as a GS-13. The big difference is, like I said, that 2 to 4 year appointment. Now, what does that mean to you? Well, after 3 years, you are automatically considered accepted service after that, so you can transition into PFT jobs. But one of the reasons I used to be a permanent full-time employee, I transitioned to a core employee, and a lot of people said, well, why did you go from permanent to core? There's a couple different reasons for it. The biggest one was when the government shuts down, permanent full-time positions, not all of them are considered mission essential, so they shut down and go home, wait to see if they're going to come back to work. Core employees are paid under disaster funds. They are 100% considered critical employees. They work throughout that time period. I was shut down about a little over 2 years ago for the government shutdown. I didn't like that feeling. I wanted to make sure that I always had my income coming in. So that's one of the reasons I transferred. It's also easier to get promoted within the core system and to transfer around on grades and positions. That's another reason. We also have our reservist positions. Our reservist positions are on call as needed. They can be based anywhere in the country. There's 26 different categories that you could fall in under the core position, the reservist positions. So when you're if you're looking at it after you get out of the military and you want that intermittent travel where you can select when you're going to be available and go ahead and deploy, then the reservist program might be a good one for you. The last one I have listed here is FEMA Corps. That's a program mainly for 18 to 26-year-olds that help you learn to work with FEMA for a year. You could actually do it at any age as a team lead. But the only reason I put this in there is I know there are some people as they transition out of the military might have a son or a daughter that are trying to figure out what they're going to do. And FEMA Corps might be a program that would fit for them. I'm not really going to discuss that today, but if you want more information, please feel free to reach out to me on that one. I also want to talk about the special hiring authorities. These are ways that you can get hired to work for the federal government, not just FEMA, any federal government agency that makes the transition really easy. First one is your veterans recruitment appointment. This allows you to come in at a grade of GS-11 or above. It's those mid and entry level positions. This is usually below our engineering roles in FEMA, but it might be within in some other categories of service. So you can look, if you're looking to come in as GS-11, you can go ahead and look at the veterans recruitment appointment. It applies to disabled veterans, any veteran that served on active duty during a war, veterans who are serving on active duty and got a Armed Forces Service Medal or the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. But one of the key things is you have to have separated within the last 3 years and you have to have an honorable discharge. Like I said, this veterans recruitment appointment is limited to a GS or a GS-11 position. You also have your 30% or more disabled veterans. These positions are, again, GS positions. There's no grade limitations. This is actually how I was hired into FEMA 6 years ago. You come on board for a temporary appointment for a minimum of 60 days, and then they transfer you on to full time. I converted straight over. I didn't have any breaks in service and stayed with the government. Qualified by being 30% more disabled as rated by the VA, and you have to have a honorable discharge. One of the ones I always bring up here with that is Schedule A. This is any individual with disabilities. One of the reasons I share this with the veterans a lot is we all know when we transition out, sometimes it's very difficult. It took me about 8 months after I retired for my disability to get approved. You can actually go to your regular doctor and get what they call a Schedule A letter. And I'll give you some links on what's to be in there later. But if you've had at least 2 years of military service, you can you can get a Schedule A letter. and it applies to anybody with intellectual, severe physical disabilities, or psychiatric disabilities. And just to give you an idea, it's not permanently incapacitating disabilities. For example, someone with, diabetes would actually qualify for a Schedule A disability letter. So I always share that because while you're waiting for the VA to do their part, if you have a disability, you can get the Schedule A, still qualifies you for those same hiring authorities to get you on board faster. Where do I find you jobs? There's a couple places to go. The first one you find most of your federal jobs is going to be USAJobs. We're going to put almost all of our permanent full-time jobs on there. Some of our core jobs go on there, and sometimes we put our reservist positions on there. Excuse me. You can also look at FEMA.gov/careers to see the same jobs that are on USAJobs and our other reservist positions. Those are all going to be on that website. What I want to do is I want to show you, we do have 3 jobs that are closing out this week or within the next 2 weeks. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to help you guys with this, to do it in advance so you can see some of these jobs. And I'm going to click into one of them as we go on, because I want to share some information about how to navigate through USAJobs. I will also put in the chat at the end of this presentation these 3 jobs so you can have them and look at them. First one is a GS-13 job. There's actually 3 positions there in Washington, D.C. Now, this one closes out on the 15th of February. But we're looking for people who have experience with building codes. You're going to work on the federal, we're working with FEMA on our FEMA team and working with us on that. We also have one role in Winchester, Virginia. This is a core, like I talked about, the core 12-13 position. This one's open till the 8th. So this one's going to close out pretty quick. It's a civil engineer, and it's going to be working with cost estimates for public assistance grants. These roles are these are great roles. This one is what we call a ladder position. You could get hired at the 12 or 13. So if you get hired at 12, you can get promoted in time over this. So you can go ahead and move up to that next pay grade. The other position we have is down in Denton, Texas. Denton, Texas is our Region 6 headquarters, but we also have our Consolidated Resource Center Central down there as well, which has a lot of strong positions. They're all core positions. And these roles, you're going to be responsible for engineering reviews, outreach, and working with the mitigation grant programs with the states and localities that are looking to get federal funds to rebuild things in those disaster sites. So all of them are strong jobs. They're great jobs to come into FEMA with. What I want to do is I want to click on one of these jobs and see if we can get into it. And I want to show you some things about how do you navigate USAJobs. Sarah, can you see my screen? Does it say USAJobs now?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. I'm going to teach you 3 places to look on a USAJobs announcement that are crucial to you. Probably a few more, but 3 in particular. Up here, it always says who's eligible to apply for this job. A lot of times it's going to say open to the public. Other times it'll say specific categories. Make sure that if you don't meet the categories, that you go ahead and you're not going to be eligible to apply. The other thing is, if you see the same job title and one says, if I can show you where it will be, one says that it's a DM or a DE or a MP. Those are all different categories. But the point I'm getting at is, if it's the same job, same location, but it's open to the public and open to just like military and military spouses and disabled, apply for both. Because that way your name will get on 2 different certificates. If you don't make the first certificate, you might make the second certificate. So why not double your chances when you have that opportunity? Most people don't think of that. They're like, oh, I'm a veteran, I'm going to always apply for the one that says veterans. You can still apply to open to the public, because you might miss the one cert, but get the other cert. And if you follow some of the steps I'm going to teach you today, you probably make both of those certs. So cert is a certificate where we list all the resumes. You always look for this gold colored box. It might tell you that the job might close sooner if it hits 100 or more. This one, if they get 100 applications, they're going to close it. Since it's still on USAJobs, they haven't hit 100 yet, because as soon as it hits 100, it drops off. You'll see our core positions say not to exceed 4 years. Our core positions for engineering are all 4-year positions. So that means you qualify for that 3 years on your first rotation to be able to accepted service afterwards and apply for all the jobs. So that's a win-win. But I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. We got our duties, we got our responsibilities. It talks about the emergency assignments, but right here, there's a section that talks about typical assignments. What does this job do? You should be looking at this, and you should look at this and compare this to your resume. Does your resume show every job you've had, not just the last 5 or 6, every job you've had where you had these use these assignments? If you did this in multiple jobs throughout your career, whether military or civilian before, or if you're guard or reserve and you had a mixed career, that's fine too. But any job where you had these, make sure you list them, because the more times you list them, the higher you're going to hit on matching the skills that they're looking for, because they're looking for total years of experience. So after you've looked at your resume for this, then we move down to our next section, and it'll talk about your conditions of employment, but then it goes into qualifications. And it'll tell you what we're looking for. If you qualify as a 12, you'll have this experience. And what you want to do at this point is you want to copy these position, specialized experience things down into a Word document. And then you'll go down here to the 13 level if it's one that's both, and there'll be another set of specialized experience. Again, copy all the specialized experience into a Word document, an email, whatever you want to put it in, just so you can type information after it. Then what you're going to do is you're going to sit down with your resume once you've identified these skills and say, okay, which jobs did I have that I did this work? And let's say it's your current job and you're a civil engineer in Baltimore, Maryland, and you'll list out that you have all this experience. But what you'll do is you'll list out civil engineer, Baltimore, Maryland, comma, and the dates, the full dates you were there, month, day, month, and year, to day, month, and year, because this is where they're looking at how many years of experience you have. I'm going to ask you to fill all this out separately, and you're going to see why in a minute, because this is going to make your life a lot simpler as you continue to apply for the process. So you take the specialized experience, you fill it out, and you continue down through here. They talk about engineers are going to talk about other information. You want to look at all this specialized experience as well: static dynamics, strength of materials, stress strain relationships, whatever they are. Copy this information down. Make sure if you have this experience, it's listed in your resume. You want to make sure it's listed every time you've had it, because a good federal resume is not going to be 1 or 2 pages. Your resume will probably end up being at least 5 to 7 pages, but we're going to keep going down here. And we're going to keep going down until we get to this section, how you will be evaluated. You notice most of this is grayed out. This is kind of one of those hidden gems that you'll find sooner or later, but you won't find it in most cases. And it talks about when you go into the fill out your application, you're going to have some additional questions you have to answer after you upload your resume. If you click here, it takes me to the vacancy details. Can you see this, Sarah?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure it's going through. Second question right here goes right back to that specialized experience I had you copy out. Please indicate when and where you obtain each of the specialized experience requirements listed on the qualifications section of the job announcement. If you have this all done in advance, all you have to do is paste it in there. Makes it very simple. It's a lot easier than opening up, starting to answer the questions and say, oh no, what was the specialized experience? Then you have to close everything and go back and figure it out. Do it up front. Get yourself prepared so it's easier to do the application. And then it's going to ask you other questions. And some of them are going to be pretty generic, pretty simple, but other ones are going to go into more detail. And depending on the position will depend on the amount of questions that are in here. This one's not asking a lot of specific questions. Some of them get very detailed. They can say, I've worked with federal and state regulations. my experience level is check one of the below. And it's like, I'm extremely experienced with these, and I'm a subject matter expert that others seek out. I've been trained in this, but I haven't done on my own. Whatever the answers are to those questions, you want to make sure that they're listed in your resume, not the stuff about how'd you find out about the job, but those particular questions are what you're looking for. I'm going to go back and pop open another one of the announcements to see if I can get you some better questions. Let's look at the one down here in Denton.
While you're opening that, I did have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
These job announcements, they vary in length on how long they're open. Is that an indicator of anything? Is there a reason that the vacancies are open for certain amounts of time?
That's a very good question. No, it's really not an indicator of anything other than the fact that based off their previous experience, they know about how long it'll take them to get enough resumes to fill out the job. Sometimes it can be like if it's a more generic job, they might cut it off after 200, and that could cut off on the first day. You just never know. But most of these more technical jobs, it's going to take longer. I'm going to go into another one of these because I'm looking for some better questions to show you what I was talking about. And I'm just going to scroll down here real quick. I apologize because not all of them give me the details I'm looking for. These aren't giving me a good example of what I wanted to share with you. So we'll just continue back to the presentation, but take the time to look into those questions, dig down deep in them, because you're going to see that they really sometimes go into a lot of additional detail. I think the reason this one doesn't is if we go back to the qualifications, you'll see you had a lot more qualifications listed in your vacancy announcement than most of the people applying to the federal government, because most of the people applying don't get all this additional. Go back down to your qualifications. Don't get this whole section in here about the professional license, the written tests, and everything else that they're looking for. Specific academic courses, related curriculum. A lot of people don't get that in their vacancy announcement, but since you're very specialized, they're looking for certain additional skills. They've outlined them here instead of hiding them in the other part, but write your resume to show that you have these experiences. That's what's going to get you the interview. And that's the name of the game when you're looking to come to the federal government, is to get the interview so you continue on in the process. I'm sorry, let me get back to the presentation itself. Okay, so those are 3 of the vacancies. Like I said, we'll put those in the chat for you so you can look at them later and get that information. The next section I wanted to do is there's 3 other websites I want to share with you. FedsHireVet.gov. This is a crucial website because as you go into this website, I apologize, it's not popping up instantly, but this gives you contacts with the hiring officials at every federal agency. And as you go through here and look at it, it talks about all the veterans employment programs and everything that are in here. But one of the links that it brings up in there, and it's I'm just going to do it the quickest way for me to get it to you, is it gives you the agency directory. If you type agency directory in the search, this gives you the veterans counselor at every single federal agency. So that means you have a direct in and an email address to talk to any counselor at any of these agencies. If you're looking, for example, if you go into Secret Service, it'll tell you to contact Elmer or Brandon. If you're going to Customs and Border Protection, it'll check you to Jeffrey Jack. I mean, whoever it is, it's going to tell you who you need to talk to get into that agency. And that's crucial because they're giving you all the information. You just have to know where to go look for it. So every hiring program I talked about already is already going to be listed in this FedsHireVets.gov. The OPM website is going to talk about disability employment and that Schedule A letter I was talking to you about. You get the same thing with the EEOC, the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission website. Both of those talk exclusively about that Schedule A hiring. Great place to go if you want to learn more about those other hiring authorities. Now, one of the reasons you might ask is, well, why are you here today? I'm part of FEMA's recruitment branch. Carl and I work with people applying for jobs. As I said earlier, not all of our jobs ever make it to USAJobs. So what I encourage you to do is if you see a job, especially on your engineering jobs, all the skills are going to pretty much be the same on all of our engineering jobs for the overview, but you'll see there were a little bit of specifics. When you write your resume, I encourage you to share your resume with Carl or myself. The reason is a lot of those core positions and even some of the government GS positions, they never get posted on USAJobs, because when that hiring manager comes to recruiters and says, hey, we need civil engineers in Region 3 in Philadelphia, or I need civil engineers in Region 10 in Seattle, Washington, they come to us. They're like, what do you have in the way of qualified resumes? If I have qualified resumes, I hand them straight to that hiring manager electronically. They can review the resume, get you qualified, you meet that criteria, they can set up an interview and select you for that position by name without ever posting it on USAJobs. This is very fast track to getting hiring. That's one of the other reasons I love the Corso programs so much, because literally once I get that resume in their hands, within 3 to 4 weeks, you can have a job offer. And then all you have to do is do your background and everything else that they're required to do to it. And you can move into the federal government much, much quicker. You also see I have my email address on there, and I'll be sharing, like I said, I'll be sharing all these links with Sarah and Jackie when we're done here. You can also go to FEMA careers webpage, like I talked about. Also go to LinkedIn, follow FEMA, follow me. I'm the only Chip Lankert on LinkedIn. Connect with me. I can help let you know when these regions are hiring. I post all the time when the regions are looking to do a direct hire on somebody, because I work with all the regions and they come directly to me to get these positions filled. So that's one of the reasons I'm here today, is to make sure that you guys are aware of that, because I want to make this process as quick as possible for you. And at this point, I would normally entertain questions. I don't know if Sarah or Jackie have any questions they want to ask, but if not, we'll conclude this this recording now, and I'll make sure that Jackie and Sarah get all the information you need.
Well, thanks, Chip. I just had one question. Before we came on today, you were talking about having direct hiring events. Can you share some more information about that?
Sure. Sometimes we do what we call a direct hire event, and that's when the leadership at FEMA looks at it and we have certain positions that they say we need to fill these positions now. And what they'll do is exactly what I'm doing today. They will come to recruiting and say, we're looking for people with this skill set. Give us all the resumes you have so we can pre-qualify them, and then we'll set up telephonic or Zoom interviews during a particular week. And we will go in and we'll actually pre-qualify all those people to get those resumes in front of a hiring manager to conduct interviews. Part of the reason I was doing this today is I was trying to do this for you guys, is if I get resumes in advance of the actual job fair that SAME is having, I shouldn't call it SAME because it's SAME, but if you get me your resumes up front, I can get them pre-qualified and we can turn that event into a hiring event, because I can have actual hiring managers there to ask and do interviews and answer your questions to help you get on board with the federal government.
Well, Jackie, did you have any questions you wanted to ask?
No, that was very informative. Thank you, Chip.
You're welcome.
Well, Chip and the rest of FEMA will be with us for the career transition workshop. So I hope that everybody gets the ability to meet with them and discuss further opportunities. Chip, we want to thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate this information and all of the resources that you're able to provide for our job seekers.
Okay. Do you want me to just put this in the chat, or would you rather have me just send you the presentation?
You can send the presentation and we'll send it out to the job seekers in an email. That's perfect.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. Let's see if it's not too big, but we'll definitely get it to you. If I have to break it into pieces, I can do that too.
Sounds good. All right, well, thank you.
Carl, do you have anything to add before we finish up?
I don't really, you hit most of it on the nail on the head, but the question earlier about how soon do why do they open and close on specific dates? A lot of the times they have a certain number of resumes they're looking for, and Chip kind of answered it. So they might want the first 200 applicants and they give 2 weeks to do it. So because they don't want to take the time to go through 1,000 resumes. So, but the majority of jobs you're going to see, you're going to have about a 2-week span on them, roughly. Sometimes you might get one that has like just a few days. I've been down that road before. So, and for any veteran that's out there, I'm not sure this is all for veterans. I don't see that many people on here, but just keep trying, because you're going to have some doors closed, but other doors will open. So keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. Don't give up.
Great.
Yeah, I think that is one of the key things, is never give up, because you'll be amazed once you get that phone call. It's so exciting, and get that interview going. It really moves things along and gets you into the position that you're looking to get into.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you, Chip. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording this, but thank you so much. We appreciate the information. So let me stop.